The rain-drenched streets of Swindon lay cloaked in an eerie silence, their usual hums stifled beneath a midnight veil. It was March 19th, 2011, when the small town teetered on the brink of an unfolding nightmare. At 3:24 a.m., a solitary ping echoed from the depths of Savor Forest, a whisper from Con O'Callahan's phone, signaling its final farewell. Inside their shared flat, Kevin Reap awoke to the cold absence of Can's presence, her phone screen an empty void. Outside, the world slept, blissfully unaware of the dark tale beginning to unfurl, destined to grip a nation in its chilling embrace. The warm, pulsating heart of Swindon's nightlife, beneath the swirling lights and thudding bass of Suju, a local club known for its eclectic crowd and vibrant energy. The air inside was thick with the mingled scents of perfume and spirits, laughter weaving a tapestry of sound that wrapped around patrons in a festive embrace. Cheyenne O'Callahan, or Sean as friends fondly called her, was at the center of this lively scene, her spirit as effervescent as the bubbles in the drinks that surrounded her. Sean was a beacon in the night, her laughter a melody that rose above the music. She moved with ease, her smile lighting up the dimly lit room, effortlessly drawing people into her orbit. Her friends admired her not just for her outward warmth, but for the unwavering kindness that defined her. She was the type of friend who listened more than she spoke, radiating a calm that steadied those around her, a trait that had endeared her to many and made her a cherished confidant. As the evening wore on, their group mingled and danced, the hours slipping away faster than the drinks could be poured. Outside, rain whispered against the windows, painting the world in watercolors of gray and gold under the streetlights. Yet inside, time seemed suspended in the haze of camaraderie and revelry, the pulse of the music syncopating with the heartbeat of the club. But as the clock inched closer to midnight, the night began its slow unraveling. Sean, ever responsible and aware of the impending workday, signaled that it was time to leave. The group reluctantly peeled away from the allure of the dance floor, bundling themselves against the chill of the early spring night. The world outside was a stark contrast to the vibrancy within. The streets were slick from the rain, the night air sharp and bracing. Sean and her friends stepped out into the drizzle, their breath misting in the cool air, laughter still lingering in the spaces between them. As they made their way homeward, the city slept around them, its silence only punctuated by the distant whir of a passing car or the soft patter of rain on the pavement. The walk back to Shan's flat was a familiar one, just a short stretch from the club. The route was well-trodden, each turn and corner ingrained in memory, marked by the comforting glow of street lamps casting elongated shadows across the wet ground. But on this night, the shadows seemed to loom larger, the usual comfort tinged with an inexplicable foreboding. For reasons that would later haunt them with the sting of hindsight, her friends parted ways with Sean sooner than usual, confident that the half-mile to her home was safe enough for her to traverse alone. It was a decision that, in the clarity of retrospection, would carry the weight of regret, a simple choice rendered complex in the tapestry of fate. Back at the flat, Kevin Reap, Shan's boyfriend, stirred from his slumber, roused by an unshakable sense of unease. His phone lay silent beside him, its blank screen a quiet testament to the absence he felt so keenly. He reached for it, sending a text that floated unanswered into the void, a solitary query amidst the stillness of early morning. As Kevin waited, a small disquiet unfurling in his chest, Shan's phone emitted its final signal from somewhere deep within Savor Forest, a brief electronic breath that marked the end of its connection to the world. In that fleeting moment, the darkness outside took on a new dimension, the profound quietude of the sleeping town sharpening into a tension that would soon explode into a cacophony of concern. The dawn of March 19th would usher in more than just the light of a new day. It would bring with it a flood of questions, the first ripple in a tidal wave of uncertainty and fear that would sweep through every corner of Swindon, leaving no soul untouched. His elderly mother, and was known to frequent local pubs, where he nursed pints of ale in solitude. But beneath the veneer of this unassuming cab driver lay a shadow, an obscured narrative that had begun to unfurl beneath the surface of Swindon's everyday life. As the investigation deepened, the town's quaint charm became a backdrop for an unfolding mystery that seemed to grow darker with each passing hour. Swindon, with its cobblestone streets and neatly trimmed hedgerows, was a place where everyone knew each other's names, where the familiarity of daily routine was both comforting and deceptively placid. But now, every corner, every shadow seemed to hold the potential for secrets. The air was thick with the tension of unanswered questions and the rustling of leaves in Savor Forest. So close, yet so impenetrable, began to sound like whispers of things unsaid. Detective Superintendent Steve Fulcher, a man with a weary gaze and a methodical approach, found himself at the center of this storm. His office, now overrun with maps and photographs, buzzed with the low hum of conversations, phones ringing incessantly as leads were pursued with relentless vigor. Fulcher had stood before many desperate families, each case a testament to the fragility of human safety, but this one felt different. There was an urgency here, a sense of looming danger that was almost palpable. In the community hall, volunteers gathered, their faces etched with worry and determination. Posters of Sean, her smile wide and inviting, were everywhere, a stark reminder of a life that had vanished into the night. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the musk of damp coats as people huddled in small groups, poring over maps and discussing potential search strategies. Outside, the weather turned mercurial, the sky a shifting tapestry of grays and blues that mirrored the uncertainty hanging over Swindon. Kevin Reap was a constant presence at these gatherings, his eyes hollow with sleeplessness, his voice raw from repeating the details of Shan's last known movements. Every phrase felt like a fragile lifeline, something to cling to amid the rising tide of despair. The waiting was a relentless agony, a gnawing void that threatened to consume him. He replayed their last conversation over and over in his mind, seeking clues in her laughter, in the mundane exchanges that had filled their days together. The search expanded beyond Savor Forest, reaching into the outskirts where the fields stretched out, vast and indifferent. Dogs sniffed through underbrush, their handlers calling out names into the emptiness, the echoes swallowed by the dense woodland. Each search party returned with weary resignation, their hope diminishing with each unproductive trek. As dusk descended, the town seemed to hold its breath. Streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows that danced across the pavement, and the once bustling streets fell silent under the weight of night. In the pubs, conversations were hushed, the atmosphere heavy with speculation and fear. Patrons exchanged solemn nods, sharing the weight of a collective unease that had settled over Swindon like an unwelcome fog. Yet beneath the surface, the investigation pressed on. Fulcher and his team were relentless, piecing together a mosaic of evidence that slowly began to reveal the contours of a darker narrative. The sighting of Hollowell's car had introduced a new thread, one that promised to unravel the mystery if followed to its end. The detectives knew they were racing against time, their every step shadowed by the knowledge that someone, somewhere, held the key to Shan's disappearance. In the heart of the town, where centuries-old buildings whispered stories of times long past, the community remained united by their shared hope and fear. Each day brought fresh resolve to find Sean, to uncover the truth woven into the fabric of Swindon's serene facade. And as the investigation moved forward, the promise of answers lingered on the horizon, a beacon guiding them through the oppressive darkness of uncertainty. Gathering storm of media begin to converge upon the wooded expanse with an urgency that underscores the gravity of the moment. As the convoy of vehicles lumbers to a halt on the narrow gravel road, the air is thick with the scent of earth and impending rain, the silence punctuated only by the distant rustle of leaves stirred by the wind. The landscape is a tapestry of greens and browns, an undulating sea of trees swaying rhythmically, oblivious to the secrets they have kept hidden beneath their leafy canopy. Detective Superintendent Steve Fulcher steps out of the car, the crunch of gravel underfoot grounding him momentarily in the enormity of what lies ahead. His mind is a cacophony of thoughts, each vying for prominence as he steels himself for the task at hand. The forest, ancient and sprawling, seems to breathe around him, each breath a whisper of its storied past, of life and now, tragically, of death. The forensic team, a cadre of figures clad in white suits, descend upon the scene with the precision of a well-rehearsed performance. They move methodically, their tools an extension of their resolve to uncover and preserve the truth from beneath layers of soil and detritus. The scent of damp earth mingles with the acrid odor of chemicals as they commence their meticulous excavation, shovels slicing through the ground with rhythmic determination. Fulcher watches, his heart a steady drumbeat in his chest, as the first signs of human remains begin to emerge from their earthen cocoon. The sight is sobering, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the veneer of civilization beneath which darkness often lurks. The image of Sean O'Callahan's smiling face, once vibrant and full of promise, flashes through his mind, a bittersweet specter urging him forward. As the body is meticulously unearthed, an overwhelming hush envelopes the forest, the weight of the discovery reverberating through the air like a solemn bell tolling in the distance. The forensic pathologist, a study in calm focus, leans in, examining the decomposed remains with the practiced eye of experience. Every detail is important. Every bruise, every fracture a testament to a life brutally cut short. The team works tirelessly, cataloging each piece of evidence with the care of curators preserving a sacred relic. Nearby, Detective Fulcher's gaze lingers on Hollowell, the man whose quiet demeanor belied the darkness that simmered beneath the surface. Hollowell stands apart, eyes fixed absently on the horizon, his posture betraying no emotion, no hint of remorse or regret. For Fulcher, this moment is bittersweet, a culmination of relentless pursuit coupled with the hollow victory that accompanies justice achieved at such a terrible cost. The forest stands as a witness to this tragedy, its towering pines swaying gently, their whispered rustlings a mournful requiem for Sean and all she represents. As dusk settles, painting the sky in hues of indigo and violet, the detectives and forensic team prepare to leave the site, their hearts heavy with the knowledge of the task that awaits them. The investigation has shifted, its focus now on piecing together the final moments of Shan's life, unraveling the web of deceit and violence that brought her here to this lonely patch of earth. In the gathering darkness, Fulcher remains, his silhouette a solitary figure against the fading light, resolute in his promise to see justice served. The forest, once a silent accomplice to unspeakable acts, now stands as a sacred ground, a place of closure for a community bound by shared grief and a determination to remember, to honor, and ultimately to heal. The usual protocols, driven by a desperate intuition that bordered on obsession. As the final rays of daylight surrendered to the night, the forest seemed to breathe with the secrets it had harbored for so long. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth, mingled with the faint, acrid smell of the portable lights that cast an eerie glow over the crime scene. The meticulous exhumation of Shan's body was a grim spectacle, the silence broken only by the muted rustle of fabric against soil, the clink of metal on stone, and the occasional murmur of commands whispered among the officers, subdued by the weight of the discovery. Steve Fulcher stood apart from his team, a spectral figure absorbed in thought, his face a mask of resolve yet shadowed by the burden of ethical compromise. The decision to break protocol was not one he made lightly. It clawed at his professional integrity, yet the vindication of finding Sean lent a hollow solace to his conscience. The air around him was electric with the tension of unspoken fears and unvoiced hopes, a delicate equilibrium that threatened to shatter with the next revelation. When Christopher Hallowell spoke again, his words were a knife slicing through the tense silence. "There's another body, he murmured, his voice devoid of inflection, yet laden with a chilling finality. The declaration was a sinister echo that reverberated through the assembled officers, igniting a flurry of activity that was both frantic and methodical. Each breath was a visible cloud in the cold night air, each movement a deliberate choreography of urgency and restraint. The search expanded swiftly, the forest yielding its second secret with reluctant grace. A few hundred yards from where Shan's body lay, the ground gave way once more to reveal skeletal remains, the fragmented whispers of a life long extinguished. The chill of the night seemed to seep into the bones unearthed, the tattered remnants of clothing clinging to them like ghostly shrouds. It was Rebecca gone, lost to the world for 8 silent years, now found among the trees that had stood sentinel over her forgotten grave. For Karen Edwards, the news was a cruel dichotomy of grief and closure. Her hope had been a fragile thread stretched across years of uncertainty, now snapped by the stark reality of her daughter's fate. The thin veil of hope she had clung to was replaced by the cold, hard truth, an absence transformed into a permanent void. The chill of the forest seemed to seep into her very soul, numbing her to the core. The forest bore silent witness to the unfolding drama, its ancient trees absorbing the sorrow and despair that hung heavy in the air. The atmosphere was pregnant with unspoken stories, the rustling leaves a dirge for lives interrupted, dreams unfulfilled. Each snap of a twig underfoot, each rustle of branches overhead, was a reminder of the hidden horrors that had lurked undisturbed for so long. With the revelation of a possible serial predator in their midst, the investigation widened, a net cast over past mysteries and missing person cases, seeking threads that might unravel the full tapestry of Christopher Hallowell's crimes. The forest, once a place of beauty, now stood as a grim monument to tragedy and justice entwined. As the forensic teams packed their equipment and the last of the portable lights were extinguished, the scene was left in the embrace of darkness once more. But the night's silence was different now, charged with the promise of justice pursued, of truths uncovered. The forest, steeped in shadows, held within its depths the specter of redemption for a community forever altered by loss, yet determined to forge a path to healing. The courtroom was an austere chamber, its walls suffused with the weight of countless verdicts. It was here, under the somber gaze of justice, that Christopher Hallowell faced the culmination of his dark deeds. The air was thick with anticipation, the kind that crackles like static just before a storm. Each creak of the wooden benches under the shifting weight of the collected audience was a reminder of the gravity of the proceedings. Outside, a gray English sky mirrored the somber mood within. Raindrops whispered against the windows, a gentle yet insistent reminder of the tears shed for the victims whose stories were being unspooled once more. Families filled the gallery, their faces etched with loss and steely resolve. Rebecca Godden's mother, Karen Edwards, and Sion O'Callahan's mother stood as silent sentinels, flanked by supporters who knew all too well the long, tortuous journey that had led to this moment. Their eyes, pools of grief and determination, never wavered from the man who had irrevocably altered their worlds. The once vibrant faces of Rebecca and Sion now gazed out from photographs placed before the jury, a poignant juxtaposition of innocence against the monstrous acts recounted. The prosecutor's voice cut through the room, methodically laying out the chain of evidence that, like an intricate tapestry, detailed Hallowell's chilling narrative. DNA evidence, the fruits of diligent forensic work, spoke louder than any confession ever could. Physical artifacts found at the burial site, cruel remnants of lives ended too soon, were presented with solemn reverence. As the prosecutor guided the jury through the labyrinth of facts, the courtroom seemed to close in around Hallowell, a vice tightening with each presented piece of irrefutable evidence. He sat impassively, a sinister calm enveloping him, betraying none of the chaos that his actions had sown. His eyes were cold, devoid of the humanity that had been so callously disregarded in his pursuit of darkness. In the hushed tones that follow bombshell revelations, the defense's arguments struggled to hold sway. The jury, their faces etched with concentration, absorbed each detail, their collective conscience grappling with the magnitude of Hallowell's transgressions. The truth, once obscured by shadows, now stood in stark relief against the light of justice's scrutiny. As the trial progressed, remnants of a different story lingered in the air. Detective Steve Fulcher's fall from grace. His actions, which had led to the body's discovery, were a poignant reminder of the moral quagmire entwined with the pursuit of justice. In breaking the rules, Fulcher had paved the way for the truth to emerge, yet it was a truth that came at a personal cost. His absence was a silent echo, a reminder of the complexities that often accompany the pursuit of justice. The deliberations, though fraught with the weight of responsibility, were swift. The jury returned, their verdict echoing through the courtroom, a clear and resounding guilty. There was no exoneration, no reprieve for Hallowell. The sentence of life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole, was rendered with finality. Justice, though painful in its pursuit, had been served. As court adjourned, the families embraced, their relief tempered by the knowledge that while justice had been achieved, their daughters would never return. Outside, the rain had ceased, leaving in its wake a world washed anew. The community, scarred yet resilient, began the long journey towards healing, buoyed by the knowledge that the predator who had once walked among them would never again cast his shadow. The trial's conclusion marked not just the end of a quest for justice, but the beginning of a legacy of vigilance, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of truth can prevail. The next story, the rain-soaked courtroom, stood as a testament to the relentless passage of time. The echoes of justice reverberated through its hallowed walls, a reminder that truth, though obscured by shadows, finds its way. In the end, every soul must stand before the scales of justice, unyielding and inevitable.